The Jacksonville Jaguars defensive playbook comes equipped with probably the best all around defensive formations that you can have in this game. It comes equipped with 4-3 even 6-1. It has 3-4 under. It has the 3-5 over flex, 4-2-5 over G for my B-Nog guys. We're taking a look at nickel over 3-3 load mug, 3-3 single mug, 3-3 double mug, and of course, the nickel wide defense. Also, dime wise, we have the dime load weak and we have the dime 3-2. This is kind of just a quick overview of this Jacksonville Jaguars defensive playbook. We'll be breaking it down for you today, kind of going through, at least in my opinion, the best ways to run some of these defenses. Now, if you want to get my complete guide to this defensive playbook and really all of my offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football, they're going to be available in our school community for just $10. That link is going to be in the description down below. Again, for just $10, you get access to everything that I know about Madden and college football. So if you're looking to get better, go ahead and check that site out. That link will be in the description. But let's go ahead and get into it. As I said, we're going to be taking a look at what I would say is kind of getting you up to speed, if you will, on the kind of most popular defensive playbook in this game. So I'm going to first start out with 3-3 double mug and just giving you kind of a breakdown of this defense. The one thing that I will say is this year, more than really any other year, your coaching adjustments will change based off of the formation that you run. Your packages might change based off of the formation that you run. Your even your shell, right, might change based on the formation that you're running and how you're playing defense. There's also multiple ways to play defense in the sense of you could be using a middle linebacker, a slot corner, a safety. All those are little factors just in terms of how you might inform your defensive methodology. But one of the things we know for sure is that 3-3 double mug is a really, really good defense. One of the big things with this defense is you want to have the fastest defensive ends you possibly can have. You want your fastest guys at the defensive end position. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to put this guy in here, the edge defenders, Zadarius Smith and Josh Uche at those positions there. And then I think I don't know where he's at, but let me put safeties down here at the linebacker spot. I just think, again, in this year's game, really it's all about speed. I don't even think it's about abilities defensively this year. It's just speed, man. It really is. Now, in terms of how you want to run the double mug defense, there's kind of a couple of different options. But what we see most commonly is putting your shell to cover two and really basing out of a variety of things that you can do defensively. Now, when running the double mug, another thing that you're going to see typically is option defense conservative, aggressive, conservative, conservative. Then you're going to go down here and put your safety depth on close and your safety width on pinch. And then kind of situationally, you might see like hooks on 5. You might not see hooks on 5. Those are kind of more situational things. Going to first go over the blitzing aspects, and we'll talk a little bit about coverage for the best formations in this game. So as you can see here, mid blitz obviously gives you kind of the best framework to be able to work from a pressure perspective. And what most people are going to be doing out of the 3-3 double mug is they're going to have a spread D-line, spread linebacker look. So you see it looks just like this. And then from there, we're going to see different types of pressure. One of the pressures that you're going to see is you're going to see this kind of like manual hover over the center deal, and then you're going to pull up your step menu or hold up on the D-pad to bring up the substitution menu. You're going to hold down, you're going to engage with the center, and then you're going to try to get off of the block. Now, the best way to get off the block is to basically stop running downward and start running backwards as the same time hitting the X button on PlayStation or the A button on Xbox. So again, spread D-line, spread linebackers, put your user in whatever coverage assignment you want, go ahead and hit the center, and then you're trying to basically spam that button to get off of the block. So, again, another little thing that you can do to make this a little bit more consistent, in my opinion, is to blitz off of the running back side, which will show, or blitz off the bunch side, which I'll show that in a minute here. But you see, when you get that engage, that is going to really do a good job of creating this pressure. Now, what's really cool about 3-3 double mug and the versatility is if I was to just shift my linebackers to the left side and user this slot corner, this is going to give me a degree of symmetry within this defense. What you'll see happen is basically this blitz will work more than likely off of a Sim 5. I'll drop this D end out into coverage, and you see that we kind of get that same feature, right? So you can easily, just shift your linebackers to the outside, spread your D line, and then if you wanted to even use her like the backside defensive end, you could do that. And as you see, you're getting good pressure, okay? Now, obviously, the pressure is only part of it. One of the biggest tips I can give you in terms of coverage, if you're going to be basing out of a man coverage shell, is to route commit everybody to the inside. This is going to help defend things like crossers and deep post, really the routes that can beat you for touchdowns. This is going to do a good job of defending that. Another really, really important coverage tip this year that I want to make sure that I tell you in this is to go ahead and take the defensive end on the bunch side and put him in a curl flat zone. I cannot tell you how important that adjustment is this year. That adjustment is so good. Now, if you're on this left-hand side, you could even do something like this, where you're utilizing a cloud flat and then you're kind of manning up different players. You only have to send 4. You don't have to send the full 5 as well when running this blitz. And normally you're going to be able to get some semblance of consistent pressure. Another thing that you can do when running this defense is you can go ahead and press and then individually back off certain players. So you might want to individually back off your outside guys or individually back off your other guys, right? Those are different adjustments that you can do within this. Another really good tip, in my opinion, is to take the slot corner, man him up to the tight end, and then take the safety and man him up to the slot. That's really good for not giving up one-play touchdowns on just different routes that they might run. And as you see, this very clean pressure sending 4. The biggest trick is obviously getting off the block. Now, a little pro tip here, if you're finding that it's really hard to get off the block, maybe they're untargeting your user, and you don't want to mess with that, what you can do is still spread your linebackers, but instead of putting your user in a zone, you're just going to blitz him. And what I like to do is take this defensive end on the right side, and I'm going to put him in either a bluff blitz, a quarterback spy, a hard flat, all these different adjustments, right? And when I hit the center, I'm going to hit to the right on the D-pad, and that's going to give me that hard flat, and that's going to be my new user, basically. I think that's another option. If you want a D-pad switch off, you certainly can do that. That D-pad switch method has been basically in the game since college football. It's a very effective method. Now, obviously, the Send 5 is primarily just to get them to block a running back. It's not going to be necessarily like incredible pressure if they're blocking a running back. In this year's game, honestly, with where we're at in the game in terms of defense, for the most part, there's not really a great blitz that comes in when they start to block people. That's just the truth. And so really the game is all about getting pressure with them sending 5 out with only sending 4 or 5. And so you can still get some pressure when they block the running back, but generally speaking, when they block somebody and they actually commit to blocking this blitz, they certainly can block it. And so you need to have coverage setups and you need to have counters to your blitz method. So what I like to do here to create kind of a counter is to spread linebackers, and then we're going to go to the Texas 4-man stunt, and you can do whatever you want with your coverage. One of my favorite adjustments with my coverage would be to do something like this, or to just man this running back up, have my user on a flat, have this guy on a hook, and then I can kind of go with it like this. But essentially, all we're going to do is instead of engaging with the center now, we're going to basically run back into coverage. And these Texas stunts are really good in this year's game of being able to essentially, give you a semblance of pressure. Now, another thing that you can do here on this left side that is kind of interesting, especially against what a lot of people like, which is base pass protection. It is this left exit 2-man stunt here on the left side. What makes this one good is that sometimes this DN can actually loop around. And as you see there, I didn't even really have to engage that much, and I'm actually getting pressure. So I'll show that again. It's spread line, spread D line, spread linebackers, left exit 2-man stunt. You're going to stand about right in here just like you would, but you're just going to run down. You're not going to engage. And basically, you have a good chance of either the defensive tackle looping around or that A-gap pressure coming in, just depending on how they're blocking. Another thing you could do with double mug, by the way, that I think is still worth mentioning is just to send 6 like this. As you see, if you hover the center and send 6, it's normally going to come in. As well, the other thing with this is if you hover like right over the running back, a lot of times this will come in as well. And, you can play defense like that as well. It's just a little bit more aggressive of a version of the double mug defense. And then the other thing that we can do with this stunt is really just primarily send the left Texas 2-man. So the reason you would send the left Texas 2-man is because you're playing a quarterback that might want to roll to the right side. So if you're trying to keep the quarterback in the pocket, what I would do is left Texas 2-man stunt. So we're only going to stunt on the weak side of the quarterback, the non-throwing hand. And then we're going to have these other 2 guys to the opposite side. It's going to do a good job of kind of keeping that quarterback a little bit more contained in the pocket and allow those stunts to be able to go to work and to be able to get pressure. So those are some of the best ways to get pressure out of the double mug. Now I'm going to give you very simple but very effective coverages that I like to use from this. So if I know that I'm going to be running more of a coverage-based defense, I'm not going to be running mid-blitz and sending 5. What I like to do is actually just base out of the Tampa 2, and I'm going to hold down on the button, and I'm going to select the stunt of my choice. So in this case, we'll do a Texas 4-man. We're going to spread D-line, spread linebackers, and basically the way that I like to defend this formation is we're going to play essentially cover 4 on one side or cover 3 on one side like this, and cover 2 on the other side. So this is a very simple way to play defense against bunch, but I think it does a really, really good job. You can put your user in a hook curl to the back side here, and this is just going to do a really good job of defending corner routes. It's going to put them honestly in a lot of difficult positions, and you're going to be able to kind of switch stick around, and obviously you have the pressure from that Texas 4-man stunt. So that's a first shell that I really like against bunch. What's really interesting is they actually made, with the way they've kind of affected stem down corners and things like that, if you're trying to stop corner routes or sideline flooding concepts, they actually made it a little easier than you might think. One of the best ways to stop corner routes in this game is to do exactly what I just did, but flip it. So what you're going to do is you're going to have an outside quarter, you're going to have an inside quarter, and you're going to have a curl flat. That combination of zones, and then I would probably hook curl my user here, combined with a defense that looks like this. This is a very effective defense for Bunch X Nasty. You're going to see right here that the curl flat is going to do a good job of kind of carrying that corner to the outside quarter defender. And then that outside quarter defender is going to do a really good job of kind of handling and making that a difficult throwing lane for them to have to be able to hit. So those are 2 shells that I absolutely love. And then another one that I like is just using that outside third and hard flat type of mentality. The reason I like this one is because this is going to do a really good job if they're ever doing something like a stem down corner, a slot fade, and a streak. You're going to have pretty decent success, especially if you soft squat here. This soft squat will do a really good job of kind of matching and latching onto the corner. And then you have the outside third for the slot fade. And then you have the middle third coming over the top for the deep streaks. Those are 2 of my favorite coverages for bunch, really, from this defense. The other thing about this is if you wanted to send pressure, you still can. What I like to do when I'm going to send this pressure is I'm going to put my user in a hook curl to the left side. So I'm going to kind of user this left side. It's the weaker side. And I'm going to drop more coverage to the right side. So as you see here, I set up a little bit of a pressure. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the defensive end on the right side here and put him in that vertical hook. Or if you wanted to, you could put that defensive end in a hard flat or curl flat, and then you could play that cover 4 like this. So as you see, it's pretty much the same exact coverage. We're just getting to it a little bit of a different way. And this is really good because if they send 5 out, a lot of times you're going to send really good pressure up the middle with this defense. So again, all you're doing is just blitzing this linebacker. You can slant your D-line outside if you wanted to do that. That sometimes helps this a little bit. And you're able to kind of craft your coverage in a way that makes a lot of sense. And you get that A-gap pressure and you get that user being able to use her over the middle of the field. So it's a super good defense for handling bunch. One of the other real, I think, great shells to utilize when sending a lot of pressure is we're going to route commit everybody inside. We're going to spread our linebackers. we're kind of planning to send this pressure. And what I like to do here is I like to scissor the left side. And the reason I like to scissor the left side is so that I can drop this defensive end on the backside in a hard flat. I'm going to take my user and drop him in a hard flat as well. And basically, I'm going to look to essentially lurk the drag underneath because that's all they're going to really have. And as you see, we're able to cage everything quickly. And then all we have to do is basically be able to user of the middle for long enough for that pressure to be able to come in. The biggest key in defense is trying to make every single defense look identical. And one of the things that's going to make this a little bit more difficult is these cheat motions. And the reason why is because when you run a cheat motion play, and let's say even though I'm in a cover 2 shell, let's say I'm in that cover 2, you're going to see here that nobody on the right is really going to move that much, right? They're going to stay in position. However, let's say that I'm using the mid blitz deal that we were talking about. Then what you're going to see here is if I'm in a man-to-man coverage, it's going to be basically a dead giveaway. And this is why so many people love this offense. These cheat motions give you easy tells to what people are doing. So what you're going to see here is that corner is going to follow him all the way across the field. And that's pretty much guaranteeing me that it's going to be man-to-man. So what I like to do in those situations, a couple different ways to defend it. The first thing is I like to stay in zone the majority of the game. The second thing is if you're going to run this mid blitz, what I recommend is actually staying in man coverage. I don't necessarily recommend going through and saying, okay, I'm in mid blitz and now I'm going to create that cover 2. Like, to me, this would not be a very wise decision because the second that they go to a cheat motion play, you're going to basically be completely out of position. You'll see that my cloud runs all the way across the field, even though I put him in a zone, and even though I might even have my defensive motion response disabled, he's still going to move every single time. So what I would recommend is really one of two things. Number one, either only call man coverage, right, whenever you want to blitz because you know you're going to kind of speed their timer. But secondly, you could just basically manually move that player right there. That's really the only player that's going to get affected by the motion. And so what's able to happen is if you manually move him, now when they go to a cheat motion play, he's not going to move. Now, there are pros and cons to that, obviously, because if he's on a streak, that's not necessarily a pro. But what I would recommend is when you see this motion, simply take this safety here on the left side and man him up to the motion player. And now you have that player really taken away, with that inside-outside approach. And then you can obviously handle the back if you need to. So very simple way to kind of handle some things. Another big tip that I have for you in terms of coverage that I think is actually really, really, really good. And when we're talking about, just defending different things they can do from Bunch X Nasty, one of the best things you can do is put this curl flat depth to 20. And I'm going to show you something really, really cool with this. So let's talk about, again, one of the better routes in the game is this corner route to the tight end with something like this. This is a really good way to attack this defense. So what I might do is I'm going to route commit everybody to the inside. I'm going to set up my pressure, which is going to be a send 4. And then I'm just going to take this defensive end and I'm going to put him on the purple zone. So it looks like a very straightforward adjustment sequence. There's not a whole lot to this, right? I might hard flat my user just to kind of help out. Maybe I would switch stick to the curl flat if I need to, but primarily to help out with a shallow crosser or something. But what you're going to see here is when I run this, I'm just going to spy the blitzer. So you just watch the coverage. But what you're going to see here is watch this defensive end. Even though he's a defensive end, he is going to play that corner route basically perfectly on this play. And so that is one of the best adjustments that you can use to stop corner routes on really either side, but especially that bunch side. If somebody's spamming corner routes from bunch, that is honestly one of the best ways and best adjustments that you can make to be able to defend that. Now I wanted to take a next couple of minutes here and go over trips tight end, as trips tight end is obviously a super meta formation this year, and there's a lot of things that people can do from it. The first thing is you don't necessarily need this 20-yard purple when defending trips tight end. It is a good zone, but you don't really need it. And what we're going to be looking at with trips tight end here is you're going to see that that cover two shell, right, is going to be there. The biggest thing here is if you are in this trips tight end, I think the easiest way to defend trips is to blitz off the trip side. So it would look like this right here. You're going to get a little bit more coverage now to the right-hand side. But what this allows you to do is put a lot of energy in the left. So what I like to do is like a little cloud over there for the corner route, or just a simple, I mean, it could be just as simple as this. It could be a cross man on the tight end, whatever you want to do here. But what makes a lot of sense is to actually just blitz this. And so you see here, just blitzing that right there, you're going to get that good pressure. And really the only route that you have to, I think, worry about from trips is that running back slide route. That's really one of the main routes this year that a lot of people are having a lot of success with. And really what we've seen so far is that basically, you know, you're getting this kind of like corner route, slide route, backside post or something like that. So anyways, if we're setting up our defense here, one of the things we have to be aware of is that slide route, of course. So what I would recommend is actually playing kind of a little bit of a hybrid coverage. And the reason this is so good is because your user has to go defend this. But essentially, you know, you could take this backside defensive end and put him in that purple. Now you have this running back manned up by the safety. And then you're going to have a little bit better, easier chance to be able to get over there. So again, we blitz. You see that safety, he is getting beat, but chances are we're going to be able to make a tackle real quick and be able to make a play. So that's a big component of this. The second thing is playing zone. So I think the best way to play zone against trips tight end is to play like zone man-to-man. So the way that we're going to accomplish this is we're going to run a outside quarter on just like an outside third on this outside guy. We're going to have a middle third here in the middle of the field. We're going to have a deep half on this outside. You could also make it an outside third, but I really like the deep half. And then we're going to have a cloud flat like this. Now, the reason this makes a lot of sense here is because we're going to have this backside purple zone, and also we're going to have this little hook curl. And so now, you know, you're playing pretty good, a little bit better defense against this running back slide route. And you're able to, again, you're also getting instantaneous pressure. Now, the other thing that we can do from this is every now and then we can blitz off the tight end side. And when we blitz off the tight end side, it's a lot easier to defend this formation in the sense of coverage. It's not necessarily as good of pressure, but much better coverage. So what I like to do is I like to actually cross man the running back with the defensive end. So you see we get a cross man right here. And then I'm going to take that safety, put him in man coverage on the tight end, and I'm going to have a cloud flat like that. The reason I like these adjustments against trips tight end is because it will handle not only the slide route, but it will also handle like an angle route or anything like that. As you see, we did a really good job of playing defense. We didn't guard the corner route very well, but we basically guarded everybody else, right? Now, the other thing that you can do against trips tight end is you can play a little bit more of a coverage approach. So, for example, if we want to play a little bit more of a coverage approach, we might actually literally just want to sit here like this and just crossman the tight end. As you see, we have that tight end crossman. We're going to show this pressure, but we're not going to send the pressure. And we have that tight end crossman. We have the defensive end in like a hard flat. And then we have this outside guy here, really important. Put him in that outside third, put that middle third right there. And then you can have your user in a backside hard flat. The reason I like this is because now what we're able to do is have kind of like a hybrid coverage. You could even man your user up on this backside player, but this hybrid coverage will do a really good job against that play because all we have to basically do is switch stick to the post, and we're able to pretty much defend the entirety of that play with our switch stick, with our combination of switch stick and then our sheds. Another really good way to defend trip space formations would be to just beat in the Tampa 2 itself. And the nice part about this is we're going to run a Texas stunt here. And basically what I like to do is just basically create a cover 6 look. And so we're just going to have an outside quarter, an inside quarter, and another inside quarter like this. And then we're going to have that curl flat, and we're going to have that hook curl so that it looks kind of like this right here. The reason I like these adjustments is because this is going to take away any kind of big play from trips, any of the big play stuff they're going to try to do. This is going to do a really good job of being able to defend that very, very well. So those are some of the easiest ways to be able to defend trips-based formations in Madden 26 within your coverage adjustments and things like that. Now what I wanted to do is take all of the concepts that I just showed you out of the double mug, and I wanted to go in and show you what I think is the next best defense within this formation, and that is this nickel wide. Nickel wide can be found in a lot of playbooks. It's not just in this playbook, but this is a really, really good formation in this year's game, and we're going to show you why. So what makes this formation really good is it gives you a full menu of different stunts that you can do and have success with. So for example, I have the Tom stunt, I have the Pirate stunt, I have all of these stunts, not just the Texas 4-man, but I actually have an entire library of stunts. Pretty much we're going to run this very similarly to how we were running the double mug. So we're going to put that cover 2 shell on, and I'm going to first show you the main blitz. The main blitz from this defense is the Overstorm Brave, and a couple different ways to run it. I'm going to show you my favorite one first, and then we'll talk about some other ways. My favorite way to run the Overstorm Brave Blitz is to actually utilize the left exit 2-man stunt. And what you're going to do here, let me actually move the ball over to the proper hash mark, is you are going to show blitz your linebackers, spread your defensive line. You're going to stand over the center like this, and then you can drop that backside guy in a hard flat. You want to route commit inside if you're playing man coverage this year. And then what you're going to see is at the snap of the ball, we're going to get either A-gap or edge pressure. Now, as you saw right there, we got A-gap pressure, but one of the most popular ways that people like to block blitzes is they like to go to a base pass protection. When they go to a base pass protection within this look right here, what you're going to see is it's going to change the blocking logic. And now we have a really good chance of being able to get edge pressure with this defense. I'll show that again here. And, again, real simple. And I'm just going to hover right over here. And let's see if we can get this edge pressure to come in. For some reason, it's not working. But hopefully we can get it working here for you in just a second. This blitz is crazy when it actually comes in. Maybe a little bit of an issue with my hover here. But in general, this is a really, really good blitz. I'm going to go ahead and send 5 just to kind of make sure we see it. There you see there's that disengage, or there's that like loop that you're getting from the defensive end. And that tells me that 52 is probably just a little too slow. So we're going to sub him out. We're going to put somebody better there. We're going to put Nolan Smith there. And we'll actually put Nakobe Dean on the other side so that we can get just a little bit better of a player in that position so that we can actually show you how good this is when you have appropriate ratings. And again, I'm going to go base protection. So we're going to show blitz, spread D line, and we're going to use that left exit 2-man stunt. Remember, you can drop the backside guy into whatever zone that you want, whatever coverage you want. And what you see here is, of course, we didn't come in again. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you just the basic version, and then we might come back to it a little bit later. So if you want to just run the basic version of this, all you're going to do is just spread your D-line. If you want to slant it outside, you can. I don't think you necessarily have to. You could slant it really however you want it. But I think in general, I don't know how 62 is just playing, just balling. But we'll send it off the other side as well. The thing that I've noticed with this blitz, by the way, I think it's best if you send it opposite of the halfback. So as you see there, see how fast it comes in? Opposite side of the halfback is a little bit better in my opinion. So let's say you're playing a formation like Y off trio close, very popular in this year's game. We want to send this opposite of the running back. So you see here, we're going to send it this way. And now it's significantly cleaner, faster, everything just better when you send it on the running back side. That's one of the big pieces of information that I feel like I've learned about this formation in the last week or two. But anyway, here, as you see, as long as we get the engage, we're going to be good to go. It's very, very similar to the double mug defense. It's just you have a little bit more that you can do from it. And because of where the linebackers line up, the blitz comes in significantly faster. And you'll see it just kind of gets in there a little bit faster. So now let's talk about how we want to send, different stunts and things of that nature. So if you're going to send stunts, my advice would be to come out in a come out in the stunt if you can. If they're not no huddling you and you don't have to do it on the fly, it just saves you adjustments. We're already in the cover 2 shell. And what I like to do here, I personally still like to do it out of cover 2, but you could do it out of anything. Cover 3 cloud, we can do it out of that. But basically, my favorite stunt is the left Tom 2-man stunt, show blitz, spread D-line just like this. And then we're going to hover over the center like this. And what I like to do is I like to run down and to the right. So you're going to see down and to the right. And you'll see sometimes that defensive tackle can basically loop that guard and get good pressure. We'll show that to you again. So show blitz your linebacker, spread your D-line. Another thing that can help stunts come in a little bit more is when you pass commit. You see that when you pass commit, you get a little bit faster of an animation from those defensive linemen, which helps with the stunt pressure. One other thing I forgot to mention is go ahead and QB contain when running the Tom stunts, as they'll help kind of widen this out and make this more of a crossfire type of loop. So as you see right there, that is the left Tom. If I was going to run the right Tom, I would just flip this. So what I would do is we'll just set it up at right Tom here. And instead of using the left side guy, I'm going to use the right side guy. And as you see, that defensive tackle has a really, really good chance of being able to loop inside. One of the things, again, that I've said from the beginning of the year is that most people are going to be running base protection. They're not going to run empty protection. Empty protection is kind of weird and wonky, but honestly, in my opinion, empty protection does handle stunts a lot better. If they run base protection, you're going to see here that this stunt is a lot more likely to be able to come in if they're running that base protection. And that base protection is a very popular protection in this game. A lot of people are going to be setting their protection to base. In my opinion, if you're going to take my advice, I think empty protection might be better. I don't know why, but it just seems like nothing is super, super consistent whenever you're using empty protection. But as you see, there's that Tom stunt getting good pressure. And again, you're able to keep the contain on the outside, but you're also able to push the pocket and potentially get some pressure. So that's the value of that stunt. Another thing that's really good about this formation is they can't double team the defensive ends. So what I like to do is just this basic, like slant my line down, spread my line, show blitz my linebackers like this. And we honestly just sit here in a coverage like this. Like this coverage is perfectly fine. What I'll do is I'll kind of bluff like I'm running the blitz, but then I'm just going to get out of there. And you're going to see, we're just playing good basic shed defense here, just trying to get us in for. The sheds in this game are good enough for that. And one of the big things that I forgot to mention in the double mug video is the send two in the double mug aspect. So if you want to send two in this game, the best way to send two is to send them both off of the side of the quarterback's throwing hand. So Baker Mayfield is right-handed. So we're going to send the defensive tackle and the defensive end on the right. Then what we're going to do is on the left, we're going to spy one of them, and then we're going to put the other one in a coverage assignment. So for example, we might man up the running back like this, and we're going to have pretty good coverage. We don't need to blitz our user or anything. And basically what you're going to see is they're going to shed. And then when they start to kind of drift in the pocket, you just want to click the right joystick in to send the spy to be able to put a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. So not only does the spy do a good job of playing coverage over the short middle, but he also serves a purpose in the sense of that he can basically chase down a mobile quarterback. The same is true in the double mug, and I'll just go over that really, really briefly here. So if I'm in double mug, and let's say I want to send two, and I'm playing Baker Mayfield, right, I would spread, and then I would just basically send these two players. So I would, set up my coverage, maybe do something like this. But as you see here, I'm going to have that spy on the left side. So if he drifts in the pocket, then I can click my right joystick in and send the spy there. Don't want to click on to him, but you see the idea, hopefully. So spies are super, super relevant and super important in this year's game. Now I want to try that nickel wide stunt one more time. Just curious if we can get that to work. The left exit two-man stunt. I was having a lot of success with this earlier today, and we'll see if we're able to get it in here for you. So spread D-line, spread linebackers, zone this guy out, and basically this guy, he can essentially loop that defense tackle. 52 is just not getting the job done. I don't know why he's in the game. But anyway, we'll just one more time just for kicks and giggles. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's really good against base protection. like really, really good against base protection. And there you see, there's the A gap, right? Like it's either going to come through the A gap or normally he'll loop around the tackle. Might just be something that is more of an in-game thing as well. But this is definitely something that you can do. Whether you're in wide, whether you're in double mug, this is something that applies to that. So hopefully you're getting kind of the theme in terms of what defenses are effective in this year's game. It's basically getting pressure with a send 4 and then trying to force them to have to block somebody and then playing good coverage when they do block somebody. And there you see, that's what it's supposed to look like every single time when you run that left exit 2-man. But anyway, now what I wanted to do is take a few minutes and talk about the nickel single mug defense. The nickel single mug defense is very similar to the double mug. It's very similar to the wide, as it kind of has a little bit of best of both worlds. It has some match coverage plays in there if you want to run some match coverage. But really the best thing to do in single mug, in my opinion, is to send 4. And the way that you want to send 4, in my opinion, is Tampa 2. We're going to put that cover 2 shell out there. We're going to hold down on it, and we're going to rock that Texas 4-man stunt. My opinion, best way to set it up is to spread your defensive line and basically just user the guy that's right here. You could spread your linebackers, but I don't think you really have to. Just user that guy right there. And as you see, you're just going to let that Texas 4-man stunt go to work, and you're going to let that Texas 4-man stunt get you pressure. Now, the same thing that you could do from double mug, you can do from this one. So if I spread my D-line and slant them inside and I blitz this linebacker, now I can drop the defensive end on the right, and we're in that same type of blitzing mechanic that we were in before. Now, the thing with single mug, and there's always pros and cons to this, nickel wide has the fastest pressure when the pressure comes in. Double mug probably has the most versatility in terms of sending pressure and playing coverage. Single mug probably has the best sheds and the best stunt of all of these different defenses. So again, when we talk about like there are pros and cons to these different defensive looks. Another thing you could do is you could spread both the linebackers out and you could send it like this as well and drop the coverage this way. Remember, I said I think that this blitz is really good when you send it opposite of the running back. I feel like it's just a little bit more consistent that way. At least that's what I've seen. Another way that I like to personally run single mug is to user the slot corner. I think it's one of the most underrated ways to play defense in this game from single mug, because what you're able to do here is you can literally drop everybody on this right side, and then you can basically roll the coverage over just like this. And essentially, you're going to just be the yellow zone in the middle of the field. This little send 4 is pretty effective at being able to get pressure. But again, if you're in single mug, really the main thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be sending the Texas 4-man. If you want to engage with your user here when you're sending that Texas 4-man, you can do that. And sometimes that will help it come in a little bit better. I feel like that's kind of a waste, in my personal opinion. I think what you should realistically just be doing is, just playing good coverage. Now, another thing you can do is you can blitz that linebacker, send 5 out of this, and you see it's going to create kind of a looping gap pressure that you can have. And the other thing about that is if we were to run that left exit stunt that I was just telling you about, you see that it's going to give us that same exact look. And now we're running that exit stunt, and you see that you have potential for that pressure to be able to come home as well. So anyway, those are all different ways that you could run different defenses. These are all defenses that you will see the best players in the world run. If you don't feel like you want to stand right over the center either, you could just be backed off here. And sometimes that makes that Texas 4-man super glitchy, as you saw right there. All right, so the next defense that we're going to be going over is the 4-3 even 6-1. I believe that this is one of the better defenses right now in the game. It's in a lot of playbooks as well, and it's just a good way to get good, consistent pressure against the way that people are consistently blocking blitzes, and that is through setting their pass protection on base. And again, if you guys want to get this full defense, it's in our school community. I want to go ahead and dive into it. So what you want to do is you want to have your fastest defensive lineman at the outside linebacker positions, like basically your fastest defensive players. You want to have them on this outside edge. And then you basically, like I said, just want speed. I think speed is just so important this year. And it's just really, 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 really key to get fast players on the field. Not a whole lot more to it than that. And then when you're running 6-1, what I like to do is turn auto flip off and actually run it flipped. So you see it's going to look like this, and you see here that this is a auto flip off flipped 6-1. Now, a lot of different ways to get this blitz to work effectively, but what I like to do the most is the pinch defensive line. So when I pinch my defensive line, you're going to see I'm also going to simultaneously spread my linebackers, and then I typically am going to slant my line inside like this. Now, one thing that's really, really important is I'm going to pull up the pass protection menu, and you're going to see kind of how my user gets targeted whenever I move across the line of scrimmage. So as you can see here, what I like to do is I like to kind of stand over the running back side like this, and I'm going to take this linebacker that is on the left side. Let me actually fix that edge player. I'm going to take this linebacker on the right side, and put him in a zone. So you see it looks like that. And if they send 5 out, you're going to get quick, instant pressure. Now, obviously, I got to go guard the running back. But in general, I think this is a really, really good way to send 5. So again, I'm going to pinch, slant inside. I like to hover on the running back side here. This time we'll run a little bit more of a man-to-man type of defense, something that looks like this, with my user kind of roboting in the middle. Again, when we run man, or when we run this kind of defense, what I like to do is simply shade my coverage or route commit my coverage inside to kind of prevent those quick plays. And you're going to see that, generally speaking, this is going to get good pressure. Now, there's another way to get really good pressure out of 6-1. Through the Texas 4-man stunt or the Texas 2-man stunt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a left Texas 2-man stunt. So as you can see here, we're going to have that stunt on that left side. We're still going to drop this guy out into coverage, and then we're going to send 5 like this. And what you'll see is that Texas stunt does a really good job of kind of guaranteeing that pressure to be able to come in consistently, regardless of what they're doing from the offensive line perspective. Now, the other thing that we can do with this defense is we can go ahead and send like a couple. So for example, we're only going to send 4 this time. What I like to do here is run a contain off that edge. And again, I'm going to kind of get a little bit more wider here. And what you'll see is this really makes this a really nice send 4. When they send 5 out, you're going to have consistency of pressure with that. Now, the other thing that I like about 6-1 is when you spread these linebackers, this linebacker on the right side is going to be over the top of the slot corner or the slot receiver. So what that's going to mean is the tight end is not going to chip him as consistently. And so if they ever start to consistently block their running back, what I'll tend to do here is I will try to get this 6-man to come in, where we actually just send 6 at the opponent, and to be able to, again, just give them that feeling of, you got to get the ball out, and it's, you got to get the ball out quick. So this is another little tactic that I'll use, is if they start to block the send 5 or the send 4, then I'll just send 6. And as you see, this is a pretty decent send 6. Now, the other thing that you need to know about is this hover over the center right here. What you can also do with this defense is you can run kind of a variation of the engage defense, where you're basically just sitting here over the center, just like you would like in a double mug or something like that. But now you have this threat of edge pressure. And what you'll see here is if I engage with the center, then it's going to make that pressure really, really clean. And I'm going to be able to disengage out into coverage just like that. Same basic thing is going to be true on the right side here. So if I wanted to put a little bit more coverage here to the left side, again, I'm going to send 4, but I'm sending 4 in a specific way. And I'm going to try to engage with the center and then disengage off and get into coverage. And as you see, this makes this a really consistent send 4. Now, the thing with this is what they're going to do eventually is they're just going to untarget your user. And so what I like to do situationally is I'm going to spread my or pinch my defensive line just like this. And then what I'm going to do is I am just going to slant my line inside, and I'm going to QB contain, and then I'm going to drop both of these linebackers into coverage assignments. So you see it looks, something like this, for example. And then if we needed to, we can man up the tight end as well. So what I'm going to do with my user is I'm going to just user rush. So this is if they untarget me, I'm just going to user rush right down the middle. And you see that I can basically get an instant sack when I do that because they're untargeting me. Obviously, this is situational, but if they are going to untarget you, if that's an adjustment that they're going to make, then this is a way in which you can be ready for that within this defense. Another thing that I like about 6-1 is they have a full library of stunts. So for example, if I want to run the left Tom stunt, I'm going to run the stunt, I'm going to QB contain, and then as you see, I can drop this guy out And now I'm in a pretty good alignment here to be able to drop both these guys out into coverage and just simply send, a 4-man pressure like that. And you see that the Tom stunts are really good in 6-1 because the defensive line is a little bit more pinched in, and it's just going to be a little bit more effective. So again, pinch D line, and then we're going to set up that stunt, right Tom stunt this time. And I like to take the linebackers out, put them in whatever coverage assignment, that you might want to do. And then I'm going to always QB contain, take my user, and I'm going to run down to basically replace where that guy came from. And then I'm going to go into coverage. And as you can see, it's just a really good way to kind of get a different variation of a send 4 to be able to get pressure. Another way to get pressure out of 6-1 is to simply do the left Texas 2-man stunt and then drop this guy out. And you would do this from more of a spread D-line look like this. And as you see, a lot of times that linebacker can come in on the outside. One of the other things that I like to do if I want to run this Texas stunt is I'm going to go ahead and QB contain. And when you QB contain, what it does is it makes the linebacker take a wider blitz angle. And as you see, he comes in a lot faster and a lot cleaner based on that situation. One of the other things that I really love about 6-1 is if they start trying to slide protect because they're like, oh, you're always blitzing off of that other side, then you can just send it off of the opposite side. So every now and then, just as a situational mix-up, we'll go to something like this where we're just sending 4 off of the other side. And if they half slide or do any kind of slide to the back side, that 4-man is going to be really, really good for you in that regard. So a lot of different options for the 6-1. Another one that I like is just to simply spread the D-line and run a Texas 4-man. This Texas 4-man can be pretty good, especially from a spread D-line type of setting, as you see right there. Did a decent job at being able to get pressure from that. And then if you want to run a pinch D-line, crash down, and then run a Texas 4-man, this can be kind of crazy glitchy. You can get these kind of disengages. Not crazy in terms of like getting someone completely free, but more of a disengage based defense as well. The other thing that I like to do out of 6-1 is send 3. So one of the best ways to send 3 in this game is to take the spy, the hook, and then the purple zone, something like this. And then on the right side here, we're going to be sending this 3-man. And what you'll see is sometimes you'll get A-gap pressure just like that. And that pressure can come in pretty good out of 6-1, in my opinion. Not 100% consistent, more of a random blitz, but something that you have. And then you can basically do the same thing off of the other side. As you see right here, we're going to send it this way now. And didn't get the pressure to come in that time, but you're still going to get good sheds. You still have the spy. You still have a lot of people in coverage. And that's what makes this defense, I think, really, really, really good. If you wanted to, you can always spread. If they do go to empty protection, one of the things I wanted to say about empty protection is a little bit different than base protection. You're going to see here that this edge pressure, not as good when they run empty protection. As you can see, the blitz is just not as good when they run empty protection. So what I like to do is when they are running empty protection, that is when I'm going to go more to my Texas stunts. So I'm going to go with that left Texas 2-man stunt, hit a contain over there, have this backside linebacker in man coverage on the tight end. And then, we're basically going to rock like this. And what happens a lot of times is because we have that contain loops that tackle, and we're able to get really, really good pressure from this. So this is a really, really important defense to be able to have, and it does a really, really, really good job. Now, one of the things you have to be aware of when you're running a 4-3 even 6-1 type of defense is when your opponent inevitably will audible to bunch tight end, or they will audible to trips tight end. You will see that it significantly impacts this defense, as you can see. So the way that I like to defend trips tight end is I'll grab this guy, I'll move him kind of into a more appropriate alignment, and then I will take this linebacker on the running back inside, tight end side, and I'm going to tell you right now, I almost never blitz him. I'm just going to simply man him up to the running back. We're going to play man-to-man. Again, we're going to route commit to the inside. And then the biggest thing with this is I would send 5 every single time against a trips tight end look until they can consistently block it. The main reason being is because this is not going to have good pass protection, and you're going to be able to get good pressure on a trips tight end type of offense. and they're going to have to block somebody. And then when they do start to block somebody, that's when I would go ahead and drop more people into coverage. I think one of the easiest defenses to run against trips tight end is 6-1, and also not necessarily easiest, but one of the easiest ways to defend 6-1 is through the heavy blitz approach that we were showing there. And then also the other thing with this is on this audible, this guy is actually he's not in as bad of a situation as you would think. And I would just move him over here. You're going to see, we're going to put him in a middle third. We're going to put this linebacker in a purple. And then what I'll do on the left side here is I will typically run some variation of a cover 2 with a vert hook. The reason I like cover 2 is because that vert hook will do a really good job. Or if you just left him manned up on the slot receiver, that would be relatively decent. And then I like to cross man my user onto the tight end. So for example, if I get a combination like this where the tight end runs a post, then I can just switch stick to this middle third and be able to steal a player in the middle of the field to be able to cover things. So that's one of my big time adjustments against trips tight end that I like to do. The other thing with 6-1 that you can do is you can shift and crash basically to the same side and try to essentially overload. That also works. I'm going to go over that one more time, and I'm also going to show that against empty protection. If you're ever not getting a lot of pressure out of 6-1, what I would do is I would use this strategy. It's going to essentially be shift the D line to the opposite side, crash to the opposite side or the side that you shifted, drop this guy into coverage, and QB contain. So it looks like this. The reason this is good is this is just a simple overload, and that contain will come in really consistently, as you can see right there. And it's just a way to like say, okay, we're going to send 5, we're going to get pressure, and this is basically how we're going to do it. And sometimes in this game, that's what you need to do, and that's what you need to do to get your pressure. You know, more power to you, because in this game, you have to have something, right? You have to have something that is going to force them to, you know, respect the fact that they can't just send 5 out all the time, because that's what people are going to do in this game. As far as like this, like shift crash over defense, if you engage your user with the center here, this still quasi works. You're going to need to pair it with a stunt. I'm going to show you the actual stunt that you would want to use. So what you would want to do here is you would want to choose the left exit 2-man stunt. So as you see, it looks like this. And basically, again, you're going to kind of engage your user with the center. And then sometimes that guy will loop around the edge. Not always. Sometimes he will. And then, you know, that's another way in which you can get pressure from this. But in general, this defense is kind of a little bit more advanced just because there are a lot of alignment issues that can occur. But at the same time, it's also a defense that is really just good at getting pressure. There you see there's that send 4. When that thing comes in, that is an amazing blitz. Let me show you how I ran it one more time. Just shift the D-line to the left side, slant them to the left side. We're going to drop both these guys out into coverage. We're going to QB contain. I'm standing over the shoulder of the center. I'm going to hold down on the D-pad, and, you know, sometimes he can come in. Not going to always happen, but if you have a small, fast defensive tackle in that position, then yeah, it might be able to get some pressure for you. And, you know, obviously some pressure is better than no pressure. Now let's see if we can actually get this. Just wanted to see here if we can get this sending 3. So I'm just going to send 3 people now. Probably not going to work. Yeah, wasn't really able to get that pressure to come in. But another thing you can do out of 6-1 is send 2, just like you can in all of these defenses. So one of the best ways to send 2, in my personal opinion, is to take this linebacker and defensive end and send them. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this defensive tackle and we're going to put him in a hook. We're going to put this other defensive tackle in a spy. We're going to zone out, you know, basically everybody over here like this. I would pretty much, when I send 2, pretty generally going to be doing it from, you know, a look like this. And the reason being is just because I don't want to try to play man and send 2, right? But what happens is that guy will get a one-on-one on the outside and will normally shed. Now, the other reason why I really like to send 2 or 3 in that manner is because if they half slide, let's say they half slide to the right now, then what you're going to see is that 3-man or 2-man has potential to be able to come in. So as you see here, I'm only sending 2 people. I'm standing over on this side, and then sometimes this guy can just come in free when they're starting to slide protect either direction. So it's a really good defense for that. This also is a really good run defense. Like, it's just amazing as a run defense. Like, I'm going to go over that real quick. I don't really feel like you have to talk a lot about the run game in this year's game, but I do think, it's worth just kind of giving a quick mention. And the run game is basically dead against this. So all you're going to do is you're going to pinch D-line, spread linebackers. That's pretty much all you need to do. If you want to move these guys out a little bit, it will help you. But basically, you're just going to see they're just going to set the edge and they're going to shed for you. It's not really that complicated in this year's game to stop the run. You'll see here that if I don't spread the D-line or the linebackers, like, you're still going to be okay. The biggest thing with this is the spreading of the linebackers. It just makes sure that you're not going to give up the big play if they do run like a stretch. So you'll see here, like, I'm going to run like a stretch. And as you see, I can just kind of shoot there. My user can just shoot the gap. And I'm in a pretty good spot. I also have safety help, as you can see here as well. So if I ever really wanted to stop the run, I'd use her the safety and basically let the game use her the middle linebacker. And normally that's plenty to stop any mainstay run game. Another thing that you can do to stop the run is show blitz the linebackers and blitz the middle linebacker. I like to crash out when I do that. And what happens is this linebacker will basically just come free right up the middle, and it just blows every run in the game up. Obviously, you're sending a lot of people, but in my opinion, it's worth it if you really need to stop the run in certain situations that are going to happen where you actually really, really need to stop the run. Now, if I were to do the same exact strategy and put 2 curl flats out there, what you'll see is, for the most part, it still kind of works, but you see how you don't get that clean, that edge setter. To me, that is really significant. So anyways, 6-1 is an extremely, extremely versatile defense that has a lot to offer. Another thing that I forgot to mention is the cover 4 quarters aspect. If you ever wanted to mix in some of this cover 4 quarters, this is going to be a little worse when they go to these spread formations. And the reason why is because the linebacker, as you can see, he's super far out. However, if they have a running back, this guy's going to stay in a good spot. So what I like to do is kind of basically run the same thing. It's just now we're going to really maximize that left Texas 2-man pressure with the contain. And then on the back end of this, we could drop a vert hook off. And you see that little 4-man is going to be consistent if they send 5 out. And then if they block a running back, it's not going to be, right? It's not going to be anything crazy. The other thing that I'll do in this is this is where I love to use my Tom stunts, right? Left Tom 2-man stunt, really good stunt in my opinion. As you see there, almost crossed into the gap for the pressure. It's another little feature of this 6-1 defense that you do have. And then one other thing that I forgot to talk about a ton, let's see if I can actually show it here, is basically this. So as you see here, I have an A-gap blitz angle. I have the linebacker here. If I ever wanted to, I could just kind of sneak right on this user here, and this guy will gap pressure like that. That's something else that you have in 6-1, but nothing too crazy other than that. As far as the last couple things that I wanted to go over, I did want to just give Dollar a quick mention. I feel like a lot of people have walked away from Dollar, but I don't think Dollar is completely dead. The reason being is because I think you're going to see a lot of top level players are going to start using empty protection because it is a pretty good protection, and you can still loop empty protection. So cover 3 buzz match, you're going to turn auto flip off, and all you're going to do is slant your line to the right. And what you're going to see here is if I kind of hover in this general area, I could kind of pull that guy out. And a lot of times you're either going to get that defensive tackle disengaging up the middle for pressure, or you're going to get the crossfire pressure to be able to come in. So again, I like to kind of hover like right in this area. And you see here, we're kind of getting that little disengage, that little bit of a disengagement type of defense. The other thing is if I don't do anything, you're going to see that guard is going to do a really good job of kind of sliding over and picking that up. So that's why my advice would be to basically take this, try to use her here and try to run down into the outside. And if you can pull that guard, this loop can still be there for you. The other thing about this loop is you can just send another guy off that side. So now we're going to send 4, and then we're going to drop this guy out into coverage. And a lot of times you'll see that crossfire blitzer will do a little bit better. So let me show that one more time. And again, you'll see here, see how much cleaner, like that crossfire kind of relatively was trying to get pressure. Another thing at $1 that I like to do is blitz the slot corner. So you see here, we get something like this. I think this is a decent way to blitz right now. As you see, you get that A-gap blitzer coming in clean. Again, it's nothing that they can't block if they block a running back. But what's nice about this is, okay, you know, now you're not blocking the running back, you're sending 5 out, and I can send 4 this way and get pretty good pressure, you know, against different formations that they might be running. And then if I ever wanted to, you know, I could send something like this and, you know, be in a position to try to get some pressure as well. This is really best if you're standing out here. You'll see the guard really flies out there, and then it becomes like the center, trying to get the center to not do that, which is easier said than done. But in general, you know, if you're sitting out here like this, I feel like you got a decent shot at being able to get that pressure in. The other thing I was going to say about this is if they are in base protection, you're going to see right here that I think we have a little bit better of a chance as well. I mean, you're going to see like this loops in pretty good. It's just a matter of like the center can sometimes pick it up really well. But in game, I've also seen this come in. So, and then the other thing about this is when we really want to amp up the pressure, we just send the slot corner. And now this is like really clean. It's either going to come from the slot corner or it's going to come from the looper. So to pick up the loop blitz, it's a different protection to pick up the send 5. And that's kind of the hallmark of any good defense, in my opinion, in this game. Here's the pinch version. You see, again, that D tackle can sometimes he can just go crazy, whether it be through a shed or a gap or disengage, right? So it's just something little, but Dollar's still, I think, you know, Dollar's never going to fully, I think, be extinct. As far as other defenses in this one, there are some other things out of like nickel over that we could talk about, but I think the only one that I really wanted to cover was this big nickel over G blitz that I think is really, really good. And then again, just basically what I would encourage you to do is cross apply all of the coverage adjustments we talked about throughout this little mini guide here to kind of help you apply. You can cross apply all of those coverage adjustments pretty much into some of these different formations. The thing with big nickel over G that you want to do is you want to turn auto flip off, and you're going to turn that cover 2 shell on. And then what's really important is when you turn that cover 2 shell on, you're going to use, when you want to blitz, you're going to use this play LB blitz, and we'll show you kind of how this works. You're just going to show blitz your linebackers, and you're going to shift your defensive line basically to the running back side. So as you see here, to the running back side, we're going to user this linebacker right here. And what you basically will see is you're going to get really fast pressure off that edge. And what's nice about this one is you don't have to engage to get it. I think that's really, really helpful in a game. And here's empty protection. You'll see you get the same basic thing. So empty base protection doesn't matter. You're going to get good pressure. And then the other thing that you can do kind of off of this is you can take this backside to in, put him in a purple, put your user in a yellow. Again, we're out commit everybody to the inside. And off of send 4, you're still getting almost instantaneous pressure when they're sending 5 out, which I think is really good. And then, of course, let's say you are actually in a cover 2. If you blitz this linebacker right here and you shift these guys, what can happen, let me see if I can actually get this to work. You can still get this to kind of work if you want to run this from more of a zone look, as you see. But another thing that you can do in big nickel over G is you can shift your D-line to the strong side, and you see that you get this A-gap blitz angle from this player right here. And now we're going to send an A-gap style loop just like this, and you see that this is going to come in as well. So There's just kind of a couple different ways to blitz out of this, but they are really pretty decent. There's a little bit more to this blitz than you might think, but I think that these are quick pressures in a game where pressure is really, really hard to consistently come by. And oh, by the way, you also have the stunts. You have the stunts capability within this. So if we wanted to give this look, but then we run like a Tom stunt, right? The Tom stunts can get pretty glitchy in this game. The Texas 4-man, obviously. Another way to run the Texas exit or the exit stunt would be, if I want to run like a left exit stunt like this, we could run that from this blitz as well and potentially get this guy to loop. So anyway, just different things you can do in general. Some big principles to take away from this breakdown is the idea of like sending 3, sending 4, sending no more than really 5, unless you're in a desperate, it's just the send 6 is just it's just never really been the answer. But in this one, you can even sometimes send 3 and get this blitz to come in, right? It doesn't always come in on send 3, but sometimes it will. And to me, that's enough because, we're able to do a lot of different things, with this. So for example, if I want to send it this way, then I'm just going to shift them this way. And now, we're still sending 4. We still have a chance for this to be able to come in, as you can see right there. So I feel like this just gives you another layer of things within this formation that are really good. And they give you just some answers. One of the other big things here, let me see if I can actually get this thing to come in a little bit better. But in general, I think if I just stand over here, I want to send 4 and I want this to come in the A gap. But it's coming off the edge, which is totally fine. But if they're in empty protection, real quick, we'll just show that. So if we do that same exact blitz, sometimes that empty protection can really fan out a little bit more. So we'll just see if that does that for here. And you see we're still getting that consistent edge pressure, which is good. It's a 4-man edge pressure. You get 4-man pressure either way. And then the other thing about big nickel over G is this is really good for sending 2. So if I want to send 2, we got a spy, we got a flat, we got everybody manned up. We can, the cool part about this is you can have 2 hard flats because of how you would send 2. And then you just route commit everybody to the inside. You got that 1-on-1 for that guy to get a shed. And then you have that QB spy in case they drift in the pocket. So anyways, that is the big nickel over G defense that I think is really effective in this year's game. And that's going to wrap up our Jaguars kind of defensive breakdown here. I think this playbook has a lot of really good things to offer. There's some other stuff we didn't get into, like the 4-3 over, the 3-4 under, and even some of the goal line stuff that I'll cover in the future. But if you guys want to get the entire defensive system, everything that I know about how to get better at Madden and college football is available in our school community, and that is going to be linked in the description down below. For just $10, you will unlock all of our offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football, everything you need to know to win more games. So if you want to sign up for the school community, the link is in the description below.